Welcome everybody to our first ever activated live. I'm staring at one particular person right now. I'm not going to say a name out loud in case she doesn't want me saying it. I'm so excited for this. If you are here live, thank you for being here. If you're here on the replay, thank you for watching. My intention with this space is that we get together every single week and we create this like massive bank of content where sorry if I'm not looking you right in the eye, I'm like trying to find where the camera is. Where's the camera? Am I looking in the camera? Is that right? Yeah. We have this massive bank of content so that when you are feeling like you are about to quit or you just need like a kick up the ass, that you can jump on like this and just like listen to this like a Netflix binge, but all like business chat. Motivation chat, mindset stuff. It's going to be like energy, strategy, and mindset stuff around creating your like dream business. And so just to set a few like boundaries at the front, obviously this isn't a space for one-to-one coaching, but this is a space where if you turn up live and put your questions in the chat, I will answer them. But please don't come off camera. Please don't unmute yourself because I don't know what I'm going to do with these recordings down the line. So at the moment, they are free and they will be hosted on YouTube to rewatch. But it does mean that you could end up on YouTube and not want to be on YouTube. So don't unmute unless I invite you to, in which case I won't have you on camera. I may do specific calls which are purely hot seat coaching Q&As. Again, I'll tell you in advance if they're going to happen and you can come off camera for those. And I may take them all down at some point and sell them up in like little bundles. So I may pull like the money mindset or like the money conversations we have and sell it as like a money bundle. I may do like the strategy ones as like a strategy bundle. Like this is for me, and this is like really great business advice to you all, is everything you create becomes digital content you can resell. So yes, it's free for you guys who've jumped in early, but one day it may come down and it'll get sold off, right? So that's the other thing to say. So just keep yourself muted. We're going to meet every single Wednesday at the same time. I'm fully committed to that. I won't move the time. One question I have had from somebody, which is a really brilliant question, was, can you send a thing so we can just add it to our calendars instead of like going off the reminder emails? And I was like, do you know what? It's one of those things that I've always known I need to do. And I've got away for 2.5 years of my business not doing it. And no one's ever asked for it before. And because people don't ask for like my group programs and stuff, I just haven't done it. My one-to-ones do get that. It's in Acuity scheduling and it automatically does it. But and I've just been lazy because like, well, no one's asking for it, I'll get away with it. But because it's been asked for, I will make sure that is included in next week's email so you can add all the calls to your calendar. My intention is this is like at least the next 3 months we're meeting for these, but this could be turning to a forever thing. We'll see what happens. I'm also toying with the idea of having a Facebook community. I have never been able to sustain a Facebook community in the past, but something we're going to talk about today is, I think that's because I created them in areas I wasn't passionate about, whereas I am hyper passionate about helping women make an S-ton of money. I'm not going to say the word. So maybe I would be able to do something with it. So again, you may find that these replays end up in a Facebook group at some point. We'll see what happens. And the last thing to say is it's a co-creation. So, you know, I'm obviously going to come in and talk about like what I've been learning and what's been working for me and what I think you guys need. But really for you guys to get the most out of this, communication is key. So please hit reply to any emails that you get off me, any single email, just hit reply. I'm the only one that reads those emails. So I will respond and I will make sure that I'm incorporating what you guys are needing. So if you've just joined, please stay on mute and don't mute yourself because you just missed the introduction. Stay on mute throughout. And when you watch the replay, you'll understand. So yeah, that's just so you don't appear on camera and get picked up and end up somewhere on the internet where you don't want to be. So with that said, that's kind of where we are. And I've already had some like great questions that have come through for people that have responded to that initial email that you got. Today, sorry, there's a lot of background noise because my cats are locked in and they're banging on the door. I don't think you can hear it. You can't hear it, can you? No. Today, I want to talk about creating your soul business, because this is something I'm really passionate about at the moment. If I do speak too fast, please let me know. I'm hyper speed. someone was telling me that they were listening to one of my clients was listening to one of my Voxes, and the partner had said, "Oh, why are you listening on double speed?" I'm like, "No, I'm just listening to Lynda." So yeah, this is just the speed I speak at. I can slow down. So creating your soul business. And the reason I wanted to kick off these series of trainings with this is because it's hot on my heart. Because if anyone doesn't know my story, I launched a business whilst I was on maternity leave. And I was in business and marketing for like 17 years. I used to like head up the marketing for multiple different brands. It was kind of TV, research and insight, PR, social media, like used to do the whole thing, brand, the whole mix. Randomly, when I decided to launch a business, I thought I couldn't launch as like a marketing business expert, even though it's what I did for a living, because it was so different, because I was a big budget advertiser. Like in my head, I was a big budget advertiser. I had a 45 million budget. Like the smallest budget I'd ever worked with was about 2.5 million. And that was a long, long time ago since I had that sort of budget. And, you know, I had 45 million budget, and, you know, I was used to doing TV campaigns and paying for celebrity partnerships and all these different things. I was like, I don't know how to grow a business without any money. So I decided to launch a nutrition business and spend a lot of money learning how to run like a coaching business, which was great, obviously. But when I launched my business, my dream was to help burnt out women in leadership, because that was my story. So I was on the leadership team. The company had like 2,000 people. There were 22 people on the leadership team. There were 3 women. And there was this big push within that business, which was amazing, to try and get more women in leadership, because it was very much seen as a middle-class white male business. And there weren't many females. And so there was a lot of drive to get more women in leadership. And so I recognized that what they were doing in that, and thought, well, if they really get behind, if that sort of company can get behind women in that way, I imagine there must be so many businesses out there that would be willing to invest in women's health in the workplace. Because if you don't know my story, I basically had hypothalamic amenorrhea for 17 years. So that's where you lose your menstrual cycle. And I was anorexic, thought I'd lost my cycle as part of the anorexia. I didn't think I'd get it back for that reason, was fine with it. I was a boss babe, didn't want kids. It was all good. And then I've studied nutrition multiple times. It's a long story. I won't go into it now. If you've got my Soul Aligned Clients Masterclass, I think I talk about it in there anyway. But yeah, I'd gone back to uni. I was studying nutritional therapy because I kept having this call to learn about nutrition. Then I like had these light bulb moments about what I was doing to my hormones, through being a workaholic, through getting up at 4:45 in the morning, doing a 10K run, having a coffee, only eating like 4 hours later, working all these different hours and having all this stress and all these different things. And then I worked on my health, brought my cycle back, decided to have kids, fell pregnant, left my job when I was on maternity leave. But my point being, I was this burnt out workaholic, didn't identify as burnt out at all, just knew I didn't have a menstrual cycle, had really bad migraines, couldn't, when I drove at night, like the car lights used to blind me because my nervous system had stopped responding. So my pupils were always dilated. So I was bringing in all this light because it was so wrecked. I was having these really bad night sweats. I'd have to get changed at least once in the night, if not twice. I was absolutely drenched. All these different symptoms, low mood, anxiety, you know, crying every single day, all these different things going on. Didn't identify as burnt out, just identified as a very busy boss babe, right? And so when I, you know, obviously got myself better and all that kind of thing, I left. And that was going to be my target. And it was like, I'm going to help these women in leadership. And then what I did was I allowed external opinions to come in and take me off track. So I started speaking to the owners of agencies I used to work with, so PR agency, research agency. I'd have conversations with those and talk about what my intentions were. And then people would say to me, well, they haven't got time to meet you for 45 minutes every single week. Like, busy people have not got time. Like, would you have given up an hour of your time every single week, Lynda, if you were doing this? I'm like, and I started to like have these doubts. I was like, oh, maybe I wouldn't. Like, did you identify as burnt out when you were burnt out, Lynda? I was like, oh God, maybe I didn't. And so then I had all this going on. And then I'd invested in my very first business course, which was about creating an online program and building a scalable business. And as part of that, I got a free 30-minute one-to-one with the woman running it. And she said, Lynda, why aren't you doing fertility? And I was like, oh, well, it's not really my thing. She was like, you brought your menstrual cycle back and had a kid at 38. Like, is this not a thing? And I was like, oh. And then because I was so easily swayed by people, I was like, and she was like, and she went, there's money to be made in fertility. I was like, right, okay, there's money to be made in fertility. So I launched a fertility business. So I started talking about burnout, got like some followers on Instagram, and then pivoted to fertility. And I launched my business, a fertility business. And I burnt myself out in the first 3 months. It was not my passion. My passion, you know, was people like me, burnt out workaholics who were wrecking the menstrual cycle. But fertility is so broad. There's so many different things. It can be immune factors. It can be like endometriosis and these kind of things. There's all these different factors that can be taking place. It's also not just the woman, it's the man and the woman. But I made a lot of money. Like, I made money fast in my business. And I was like, okay, so I kind of rethought it, was about to walk away from fertility, and then accidentally fell pregnant at 40. And then I was like, okay, all the signs are you're really good at this fertility bit. You need to help people with fertility. So I relaunched my program and took on new one-to-ones. Like, I did it all again. And I did this kind of 3 times when I was almost turning my back on it, and that kept coming back to it. And it got to the point at the end of last year, like fast forward, when I nearly closed my business down and went back to corporate, because I was not enjoying my business whatsoever. The clients were lovely. Of course, they were lovely. And, you know, it was amazing every time I used to get a positive pregnancy text through. And the fact that I used to be the first person to find out before any friends or family, like, that's really special, right? But it was like, it was never my passion to help people have babies. My passion was about helping women build their confidence, build their self-worth, like own their worth, go after their dreams, quit the perfectionism, quit the shutting down their voice and never feeling like they're good enough, all these different things. Like, this is who I cared about. And obviously this is what I now do with my business. So this is the type of person I'm bringing in. It's like the high achieving perfectionists that are really blocking their own success because they're second guessing everything they do. They're never like chasing their dreams. It's like, oh, I'm not going to be good enough. I'm not going to be good enough. Who cares what I have to say? And blocking themselves in that way. So from a business perspective, and then from the health perspective, I recently pivoted my business into more of like a weight loss area, which is like, well, why have you done that? I've wanted to do a weight loss program for like 2.5 years before I launched it. And I had so much resistance because I did used to be anorexic, and then I became orthorexic, and I defined my worth on like my weight and all this kind of stuff. But the reason, and the reason I didn't want to do it was I didn't want to add to the problem. Like, I didn't want people thinking they needed to lose weight to be valuable, to be lovable, to be enough, all these different things. But the way I've come from this program, this is why I'm so passionate about it, is I want people to know that dieting and slogging out the gym is not what you need to do to allow this like unwanted weight to fall away. Because I spent so many years doing this, having this restrictive approach. And then when I like, you know, put on 20 kilograms with my first child, and it just sort of fell off. I haven't exercised since 2018, when I fell pregnant in 2018, right? And I used to be the six days a week, 7 days a week workout girl. There's a point to this training, by the way, I'm going to get to it. But anyway, so like for me, this like mind-blown insight into like, okay, I don't do anything now. I eat loads, I get away, and the weight just fell off. And I'm still in the same size jeans I was in when I used to restrict everything. And it's like, well, but Lynda, you're just lucky, but Lynda, you just got fast metabolism. I said this in the first week of Nourish You, that program. I was the person that put on 2 stone when I started uni in the first term. Like, I was that person that when I was like drinking all that alcohol and eating the rubbish, I did put on weight. So it's possible for me to gain weight, right? But when our body biochemistry is all in alignment, our sex hormones are balanced, our gut's in a really good place, our liver, all these different things. I mean, this isn't a Nourished You teaching, but just so you know, like what I discovered that because I got my body really healthy for fertility, that it was also then really healthy to like burn fat as an energy source. And so anyway, so I've kind of got these 2 sides. And the reason why they're connected is these people that are obsessing over like cutting their calories, like over exercising, all these different things, like planning ahead because they're going out for a meal that night, so they need to cut calories earlier in the day, or they went out for dinner last night, so then they're going to go for a run the next morning. Like these behaviors that I used to have, it's all coming from low self-worth and not feeling good enough, defining worth by the number on the scales and all the different things. It's the same person. It's just teaching, it's just looking after them in different spaces. One of them's more focused on, okay, there's a weight thing. The other one's like, well, it's more the hustle force, the burnout, and I'm holding myself for my business. So Anyway, that's long story short. So anyway, so I went from like nearly shutting down my business, like literally so close. Like I was talking to recruitment agencies, to now being in so much flow. We are on the 3rd of May and I checked my sale, my month to date sales, right? We're on the 3rd day. We're in like midday on the 3rd day. I've already got 7K of new sales coming in 2.5 days. And I'm like, and this is what alignment is. I'm not in a launch. I haven't had like a big business coaching client sign up or anything. This is just because people are like, I'm in flow. And the point being, sorry, this is what I really want to say. Not only do people see me, my passion and my energy and like want to be in my world because like they're seeing it, because this isn't the result of the last 2 days Instagram post, for example, this is the result of the last 2-3 months of this momentum building. But it's the fact that the content I am writing, I'm super passionate about. It comes really easy. And this is why I kept burning out with my previous business, so to call it. Obviously, it's the same business, but when I was for infertility, it's like, it was so hard. Like, even though I know the stuff inside out, I had a whole 12-week program on it. I could have just copied and pasted bits out of that program and had like a whole year's worth of content, right? But it was such an effort for me to create Instagram posts because it's like, I'm not obsessed with this. Like, I really don't, I mean, sounds really bad. If I'm going to get some of my old fertility clients watching this, like, please don't be offended, because obviously if I work with you one-to-one, I loved you. But like, I really don't care enough about helping people fall pregnant. Like, it's not lighting my fire. Helping women make money, like getting women having like 6-figure businesses, like walking away from that corporate job and being at 6 figures in the first year. Like, I am so passionate about that. Helping women stop counting calories, stop counting macros, stop slugging it out of the gym, like just starting to enjoy food again, eat cake, do all the things. I'm so passionate about that because it ruined my life. Like, my weight ruined my life for like 20, 30 years, whatever it was. So when you get yourself into alignment with your business and you're doing something you absolutely love, not what someone else has told you will make money, you are going to churn out a whole load of content, and content is what is going to be what makes people buy. So I did a post yesterday on my business account and it said, you're not here to convince anyone, but you are here to prove yourself. And I went on to explain it. And you know, and depending on how you want to use the word prove, like, because I'm not here to prove myself to anybody, right? But so listen to my explanation of it for the context of how I'm using this word. If you jump on a sales call and you are in convincing energy and you were trying to get them to sign up, and then you're adding in some fast action bonus, like this is what when I did my life coaching certification, it was like, you get them on a call and you do a fast action bonus at the end. If they sign up now, they're going to get this off you. And it's like, well, if you're in that convincing energy and people feel under pressure to buy there and then, those people are not going to be aligned clients, for one. They might be lucky, but they're not going to be aligned clients. But also, if you're really, really, really trying to go the hard sell, it's like, oh, yeah, this. What, in my experience, because I used to do this, I used to really go hard sell and like really try and convince and go above and beyond and all the different things. You tend to attract in people who don't want to do the work. Like, if you needed to convince them to get in, you then tend to need to convince them to keep going and do the work. And they're quite needy and they need hand holding. And that's not to say that being in Voxer every single day with your mentor is a bad thing, right? So I've got self-leaders who are in Voxer every single day, taking action, giving me an update, and also asking for advice, right? That's different. The needy ones are the ones who are going to turn up call after call after call, not having implemented anything you've asked them to do. So then they're not getting that success. I'm a projector. I know we've got projectors in the room here. For me, projector success is seeing success from my clients as well. So this was at the point at the end of last year. It wasn't that I wasn't making money. It was that I wasn't seeing this. I wasn't enjoying working with the clients I was working with. They weren't taking the action. They weren't getting success. And then I didn't feel successful. And I actually had a conversation. Somebody in this room I had this conversation with, it was like, I don't even know if I want to be a coach, because I'm like, I feel like I'm putting loads in and like, I'm not really getting it back because they weren't doing it. Whereas now, you know, I'm light and breezy. I'm living life. I'm attracting in like solar line clients. They're doing the work. I feel great because they're doing the work and they're getting the success. And that makes me feel really good. I feel like I'm going on like a million different directions. I do this, guys. I channel, then I don't know what I've said. And then I go off on one, right? So you'll get used to this. So you don't want to be in this convincing energy, right? You don't want to be trying to convince, because if you convince, they're going to be hard clients to work with. And I did another thing, like when I was 40, I did 40% off my 40th. Don't do that. Do not do that. Not on your one-to-one containers. Do it on your programs, your evergreens, whatever you want to do, absolutely fine if you're not working in one-to-one. But people that came in one-to-one in there thought it was a lot of money that they were working with me and they'd bought on this deal. And I thought, you're getting an absolute bargain because you got 40% off. There was this disconnect. I was feeling bitter towards them as a projector. That's our not self. So yeah, so don't do that either. So we're not here to convince, but we do need to prove ourselves, right? If someone wants to give you money, they need to believe the stuff that they need to get the transformation that they want. And the best way to do that is through this incredible free resource we have, which is Instagram or TikTok or Pinterest or a podcast or whatever it is that you want to use. It's using your choice of social media to really prove, you know what you're talking about, to prove that you can get the transformation that they need. And that is content. And the more content, and people don't want to hear it, the more content you post, the more you're going to build that trust, the faster people are going to buy. So I had someone sign up for my business coaching on Friday last week after finding me 2 weeks before. And you guys have seen my business account is like 150 people because it's a new account. So they haven't signed up because they're like, she's talking about the numbers that she makes. She's got a huge following, so she's proved she can grow in Instagram. They just trusted me they also found me from the health account, so they could say, oh, so I'd built that. So, they have got that evidence, but they're trusting from my content. I know what I'm talking about. And so this then brings me to this next point. Let me think if I'm ready to move on for it. So yeah, we get it. We've got to do content. And if you're in love with, and if we're in love with our business, if we're in love with the subject that we're teaching on, if we're in love with the transformation we're going to get people, it's something you're so passionate about. Like every single woman in the world needs to know this, every single man in the world, whatever your target is, every single kid in the world needs to know this, whatever it is, you're going to create content on it all day long. The content's going to come easy. And I did another post last week. I said, if content is hard, change your niche. Because if you're like having to like overthink and it's really hard, then you're probably in the wrong niche because it's not a subject you love talking about. So content. But then this is the other part of it, is like most often your ideal customer is you 2-3 years ago, because it's your journey you've been on and what you've overcome. So again, I've had people say to me like, well, I really want to like help people with fertility, but I've never gone through a fertility issue myself, but I'm really passionate about it. Well, that's fine. Like if it is you feel you're put on earth to help people fall pregnant, then that's fine. But when you first get going with your business, your best testimonial is going to be yourself. So before you've got clients, so we're going to have people at different stages in this. There's people that it's just like a little dream. There's people that are already going to have really successful businesses, and that's fine. They've got loads of client testimonials. But there's going to be at the start, you're like, I need evidence that I can do this. And for that, talking about your own journey, talking about how you got your own transformation is going to be your evidence that you want to put out there. So that's the other thing I wanted to say there. Let me have a little quick sip of a drink. Please put anything in the comments. If you do want me to speak into anything, please also put stuff in. So when I started and I was doing fertility, I was talking about my journey with hypothalamic amenorrhea and then falling pregnant at like 38. And then accidentally falling pregnant at 40. We did want to have a second one, but yeah, I just got myself hyper fertile, and we got pregnant when I didn't think I was fertile in the cycle, which was amazing. It was a gift. I actually did manifest it. I mean, that's another story. I did manifest it because I kept saying I wanted to fall pregnant this particular month. And then I was like, oh, I might delay it a little bit. And it happened anyway. So that was a little bit of manifestation. But yeah, I mean, that's why my business like kind of did take off really quickly before I had any testimonials that I knew anything about fertility, because I'd done that. So like, even though that wasn't aligned, like I had that evidence. So yeah, have a think about your journey, like what is relevant, what transformation have you got yourself, or have you got through working with your own mentors that you can then help people with? And what are you super passionate about that you can really talk about all day long? And I had so much resistance to this, guys. Like at the start, I kept hearing this and I was like, oh, no, it doesn't matter. But it really does. And it's like, well, I can post once a week, because this is it. I used to literally ghost Instagram for like 3 weeks at a time. I'd like post and I'd like ghost for 3 weeks. And last year I added up a piece of content and I'd done 126 posts across the year, which I'll be honest was more than I thought I had done, because I thought, wow, that's a third of the year. But also, that's only a third of the year. Imagine if you were posting every single day, like what the impact would be you could have, because you're going to convince people more quickly. So linked to that, I would just say, and I wasn't really going to talk about this, but then once you've like really thought about, okay, what is, what do I want to talk about all day? Focus on one channel. You don't have to be everywhere to have success. I've recently heard this thing about like, oh, you need to be everywhere. You need to master one channel first, because if you're burning yourself out by trying to be everywhere, again, you're going to quit. And so obviously what I'm really passionate about is helping people do business without burnout. So I'm always looking at it from a burnout perspective. So if like trying to launch with, because this is what I did, right? I launched my business. I had a Facebook group, an Instagram, and then within a couple of weeks, I brought in Pinterest. And then a couple of months, I brought in Pinterest. Within 3 months, I'd launched a podcast. Like I was trying to do all the things. And then what happened was I'd go through waves. So I do a whole load of podcast interviews, but then I'd take 3 months off. And whilst I was doing the podcast interviews, I wasn't doing anything on Instagram. And it was just this kind of whole thing. And it just became too much. And I became really overwhelmed. And you can't have any, because self-care is so important as well. Sorry, I'm going off on one. I'm going to try and keep this. I am going to wrap this up because actually I'm going to try and keep, didn't say this. I'm going to try and keep these to 20 to 30 minutes. So they're kind of like short, potent, have a listen, get on with the day. But yeah, I was trying to be everywhere. And then I completely burnt myself out. And then I had to quit. So this time around, I'm really focused on Instagram. I did launch on TikTok for my health business on Sunday, on the 1st, or was it Monday? On the 1st. Just going to have a bit of a play with it because I'm going to see how that goes. And if that brings people into the Instagram account and helps grow Instagram, because I have got the next round of my weight loss program coming up in June. So I'm just playing with that. And if that's successful, then I may transition that over to like the business one as well. But I've been doing like 2.5 years of just focusing on Instagram for that. So anyway, if you have any questions, put them in the chat. Otherwise, I think I'll wrap it up there. I don't know if that felt complete. Tell me if that didn't feel like a complete story. I know we're approaching 30 minutes. Give me the thumbs up if that felt good. I'll take the eyes raised as a thumbs up. So yeah, so that's your homework. Your homework for week 1 is go away, think about what you're super, super passionate about. Think about what you can talk about all day. Think about your own transformation, what journeys you've been on. And this is the thing, when you start to get to my age, you've got 30 different stories, right? So like, yeah, there's a fertility thing. There's like the being scared to use my voice and not show up. And like, I could have been a confidence coach. I could have been a fertility person. I could have been, an eating disorder expert. I could have been all these different things, but it's like, but what is the thing that you want to talk about all the time? What's the thing that, and I like, for me, it's like, yeah, you are worthy however you are. Go and chase your dreams. You don't need to diet, all the different things. Like these are things I'm really passionate about. So with that said, I'm going to wrap up. That felt so fast. Hope it was valuable. I will see you back next week. Same place, same time. Thank you if you came live. Very grateful and see you soon.